We're going to have a tutorial today about using Canva and just the basics to get you going if you've not used it before. I think Canva's a great software for using to put your portfolios together, and that could be for the photography or the art and design course. And I would prefer to use it over PowerPoint personally, just because I think it's a lot more versatile, and you're able to have control over the functions a lot more. So you can probably see that I use it loads for all my work, putting together presentations, slideshows, your guidebooks, and all my kind of marketing and social media stuff as well. So it's great for that kind of thing. I think it's really easy to use, and there's just so many options as well. So as you can probably tell, I'm a big fan of Canva. I've chosen to pay for the pro version. They have a free version, which just means that they have the free version just has fewer, I don't know, what would you call, fewer items to use, fewer features there. So there's more features if you pay for the pro version. So for example, I've got these design templates here. You can see a little crown on. If you've got the pro version, it means that you've got access to all the crown features as well. Now, home educators are meant to be able to get the pro version for free. I know that some people have had some success from seeing feedback on the home ed Facebook groups, so it is worth a phone call to Canva support to try and get the pro version for free. It's just a little bit more of a palaver than just filling in a form, unfortunately, but if you're going to be using it loads, then it is worth giving it a go. So I'm just going to start with going back to the beginning. So one good thing I'm probably useful to note, it is web-based. So if you've got the app on your phone, on your tablet, and perhaps you've got it on your computer as well, it's all interlinked. So if you're working on one device, then it immediately updates and you've got your work accessible from whichever device you're choosing to use. So if we're starting from the beginning, this is the page that you would see. Oh, there we go. We've got a bit of magic cursor. If you were to log in to your Canva, this is the home page. And so you're able to put your files into projects. You can search through by templates, but probably the easiest way to just get started is to go to create a design. So here you've got all the different options of the aspect ratio, that the sizing of the document that you're going to be working on. So this kind of presentation is about thinking for an electronic portfolio, how to display your work. So I would suggest either A4 landscape or presentation 16 by 9. I would go for either one of those two, but I'm just going to go with a landscape. I always think the landscape A4 is quite a nice format. It just reminds me of like an A4 sketchbook opened out, so a double page. And there we've got our page here. So first thing to do is we've created our new document. You can name it. You can go to File, Save As, and you can also just name it here. So if you wanted to type in whichever, just to easily identifiable. And we're just going to go through some of the features here to kind of get you started. Now, with all things, it's about experimentation and just having a play and practice and discovering the kind of different features. So this is just kind of to get you in the right direction, and give you a bit of confidence to have a go if you haven't done so already. So I've got my page here, white background. I'm going to change it to a black background, like a black page sketchbook, just because I quite like it. And so the first features is adding text. So if I click text, you've got add a text box in this purple box here. That's probably going to be the one of the quickest ways and easiest ways of adding a textbook. It then gives you the option to change all the features within that using this option bar across the top. So you can change the font size. We can change the text colour if you wish. We can make it bold. Not all of the fonts will allow you to make it bold. It depends what the makeup of the font is. And it also needs to be underlined as well. You can change the alignment, whether it's centered or to the right or centered to the left. Bullet points, and there's additional features in this effects button as well. So if you was to click that, there's multiple different variations that you could have, even highlighting it as well if you wanted to. So yeah, so there's loads of different ways of editing your text. Down here there's a whole load of preset fonts in a kind of like templated. It's quite useful if you're lacking a little bit of inspiration, and these are all customizable as well. So you could start off by using a template, but completely modify it to how you want it. So that's an idea as well. Oh, that's useful to know. Just make sure that you're highlighting what you want to alter. And if you ever do make a mistake, there's this undo button is here, which I'm sure, like me, you'll be often going backwards and forwards if you're trialing something or you've hit a button by mistake. So I'm highlighting my text and now hitting back as a delete button. So I'm just going to upload some images to my board. That's probably going to be one of the key things as well, especially if you're going to be using it as a portfolio, is how are you going to get your images. So you might be working on photographs that you've taken, scanned in work, or work that you've taken photographs of, and how you're going to get that onto Canvas. Well, it's quite simple. If you go to use this button here, uploads, you can find your files. Now here's all the uploads that I've added to Canva so far. But if you wanted to upload, say for example, you've completed a whole bunch of drawings, you've taken photographs of them on your camera, you've saved it to your computer and you want to upload it, for example, you would just go to upload files, and then you can choose your file of where you're going to select those images from. Another way is, I'm just going to get my downloader folder into the screen so you can see it. Another way is that you can just click on the image, on the file, sorry, and pop it onto the screen. I could have clicked on it and just dragged it over here. You can see all of a sudden it just gives you this drop files to upload message, and I can place it over there. So now I've got 3 of them. So I've scanned in an image. What can I do to it? So as you'd imagine, you can do all the usual things of being able to crop by pulling in. Now if you can see, when it turns a different colour, you can see that it's actually, that is what's going to be altered. So if I was to drag out the corner button, I can change the size without it changing the aspect ratio, i.e. it's still in proportion. it can start looking really weird to your images if you start pulling out the width or the height, and it changes the proportion of the image. So if you're just highlighting, say for example, this width button, then we can see that we're just cropping the width. So we've got one image. Right, let's add a title. So I'm going to go back to text. I'm going to use one of these preset fonts. Highlight what I want to change. Drag, rather than messing around, because it's such a massive font, rather than just changing this font size, I'm not needing the size to match anything else. It's my title, so I can do it by eye. So I can use the corner drag button to change the size. I'm going to pull the width, so I've got the whole word in one row. Change the alignment. And there we go. I'm going to be adding some other bits of text as well. So I've got some images that I've uploaded. I'm also going to find another image on a different Canva page. I'm just going to copy it. So here's another way. You can just copy and paste using Control C, Control V, or on a Mac, Command C, Command V. I can just copy, if I can find the right page, and then paste it onto my page. Now, the great thing with Canva is that you can find loads of images, photographs, graphics, even videos that you are able to use. So it's a matter of using this search bar and a little bit of trial and error. My advice is, if you type in some keywords and you're not finding the image that you're after, then just play around with the keywords that you type in until you've got something that you're happy with. Now, because this is a page that I'm putting out there on YouTube, it is research. So if I was a learner at home, I'd be able to gather my research from anywhere, looking at books, scanned in images from magazines, the internet to copy and paste for my research. But as a tutor, I'm not going to, for copyright reasons, I'm not going to copy and paste things off the internet and put it on here. So I'm just going to use photographs from Canva because I'm allowed to use those with my Pro access. So I could just type in fashion photos, and it really will be a case of scrolling through for me until I'm finding the image or what I'm actually after. And if I'm not finding quite what I'm after, I might want to use the filters to see if that helps me. Might want to try more keywords to see if that helps pull up anything that I'm after. And I'm just going to go to recently used because I've spent a while to scroll through and find images that would be useful for me, and I've used those on a different document. So that's another bit of information kind of useful to know. If you've found an image and you've used it previously, i.e. you've moved it onto a document, that means you've recently used it. It will be under here as well. So if I go to see all, I can find a whole bunch of things that have used recently. So I'm gonna just pop them. Now, when you're laying your images, obviously I'm going to go backwards and forwards and have a jiggle around until I'm really happy with the way it looks. But things that I look out for when I'm putting a page together is I'm going to start looking for things that kind of make sense, that look good together. So I'm just going to pop these down, and like Photoshop, it's got these snap guides. So you can see it kind of snaps into place. It's thinking, well, you're placing that second image quite near to the top of the image to the left of it. You probably want it to be exactly the same. So I've snapped it in place, and I'm just going to drag this out so it's exactly the same height. If I'm going to put something together, it can look a little bit nicer if they're all of the same height or same width. Another thing that you've noticed, it's just told me that the distance between that last photograph that I've highlighted at the moment and the other two images are equal. Again, it kind of snaps into place and lets you lay out these images in an aesthetically pleasing way. I'm going to drag that down, and you can see it is telling me now by that dotted pink line that's showing up that they're all equal. So I'm going to leave those three together. Now, I quite like these three images together. It feeds into my theme, which is not really important to notice necessarily as this is the demo, but I'm looking at kind of textured, gridded backgrounds against my kind of urban fashion photography. So that's what I'm interested in. That's what I'm looking at for this particular piece of research. So I'm going to highlight these three because I like them together. And while they're highlighted, I'm going to click group. So that means when I move them, they're grouped together. If I decide to change the size, it will affect all of them. So I'm going to leave that here. So here's my initial research. I'm going to add some text now. So I'm going to go back to text. I'm going to add a text box. And I've copied and pasted some text already. So I'm just going to highlight that and paste it in. So you don't have to wait for me to do all my typing. What size is that? 14. I'm going to reduce the writing. I'm just going to pull this in, make it a block. So they're my initial ideas. Now, if I've got some writing and I'm happy with the font, for example, and the size, and actually rather than starting from afresh, I will just copy and paste it again using, for me it's Command. If it's a normal computer, it will be Control. And by copying and pasting the block, my font is all the same. So just saves a little bit of time. And I'm just copying and pasting over the top of the writing. Oops. So what else shall we put on here? Let's see if we've got some more images. So I'm going back to elements. Now, if you've picked up and you've used some images, then sometimes it comes up with magic recommendations, which can be quite useful. And you can see it's pulled up images that it thinks that you'd be interested in looking at. So I'm going to add this one too. This is part of my research. and perhaps this image as well. Okay, so what else am I going to add to it? You can add some graphics. I'm going to put some, now if it was an art and design page, I'd quite like some swatches, but my photographs are black and white, so that's not going to particularly be helping me. I'm going to put some textured blocks. So I'm going to start off with my elements. I'm going to click shape. And I'm just going to create some blocks that I'm going to add some colour and texture to, just to kind of add to the feel, the theme of my research page. Now you can see when I created the shape, it just pasted it with a colour. Now again, while it's highlighted, the options bar will appear across the top. I can click on this colour and choose whichever colour I would like. Now it's quite clever, it will pick up things from images that are already on the page and suggest them. You've got a colour swatch or colour palette, sorry, of default colours at the bottom. You can use this colour picker and choose any colour that you wish. And I am going to go for some neutrals, I think. And I'm going to add some texture over the top as an overlay. So again, I'm using elements. I'm going to perhaps look at some graphics. And you can see what I've already searched up, but I would type in something like tile texture or tile repeat and see what kind of things will appear. So it's a mixture of images, pictures, as well as graphics or like vector graphics, where I just change that colour so you can see. It's a vector where I can see through the image, I can change the colours, etc. I guess I could use that. I'm using my snap guidelines. Like that. I might change it to black. And what I would like to do here, I'm going to change that colour to the same as my background. And I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about layers. So when you're putting a page together, things might, image, text might be next to each other, or you might be layering them on top. And you have to make a decision over what order it's going to come in. And you'll probably want to move them around. So when you think about your layers, think about each element being on its separate see-through plastic sheet, and you're just layering what order it goes in. So what I would like to do is have this colour swatch be placed above the grid. So I'm going to highlight the colour swatch, press these 3 buttons. There's other things that I could do at the same time. I could duplicate it rather than doing copy and paste. I could delete it, or these 3 buttons gives me more options. So, and then I'm going to go to layer, and I want to bring that colour swatch to the front. Now there's 4 different options here. Bring forward, bring to the front, send backwards, send to the back. Now in this case, it doesn't really matter if I go bring forward or bring to the front. I want it at the top, but if I was to bring it forward, it just places that one layer above. If I ask it to bring to the front, it obviously places it right at the top. There we go. I'm going to have a look at my recently used and see if there's any other textures and things that I would like to use. Perhaps. We'll replace that one, I think. Actually, that's a nicer one there, isn't it? So I'm going to click it, I'm going to delete that, I'm going to get rid of that one. Bring that one to the front. Just going to change that colour. There we go. And I'll perhaps use this one. Maybe a subtle grey. And is it going to allow me to? Something like that. So the elements, you could add banners, there's all sorts of things that you can add. These frames might be something worth discussing. So if you want to add a frame, you can see it's got this kind of blue green landscape image there. It means you can drag an image into that frame. I'm not happy here because I can see the edge of my image. I want to crop that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click, and now the image within that photograph is highlighted. You can see it's marked out. That's the whole image. So I'm just going to pull those corners out just so I don't see these lines that I really want cropped. There we go. I have a little jiggle with my images. I'm going to add some arrows, I think. Now this arrow, I want to modify it because my arrow is twisting the wrong way. So I'm gonna make sure that it's highlighted. And again, these options at the top, I'm going to not crop, I'm going to flip. So I can flip it horizontally and flip it vertically. That's what I want it to do. And position that there. Right, so I think that's my page. I've got what I would like on it. I'd like to add a little bit of texture to the background, I think. I'm going to use this image again. and pop it onto the back. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. I'm going to change the colour for now, just so that you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to place it, I want it like textured paper. So I'm just going to place it there, click on the 3 buttons. I'm going to go to layer and send right to the back. I think that's a little bit too busy, but I do actually quite like it. I'm going to click on colour and just try. Just making it a little bit more subtle. Yeah, so I think I'm kind of happy with that at the moment. There's one other tool that I am going to show you, particularly if you use Canva or will at some point use Canva on a tablet or an iPad, and particularly if you've got a stylus. Now, please bear in mind I've got a mouse at the moment, but this draw tool here is quite useful if you are wanting to write handwritten notes onto your sketchbook pages. So you're treating it really like a physical sketchbook but an electronic version. So you can highlight it, there's your rubber, and you can choose your colour, click on the pen that you want to use, and then you can write directly on your page. My writing's not going to be very good. So you can get the idea of what you can do. So that's using the pen. That might be quite useful for you as well. Now, the second to last thing I'm going to show you is doing some minor editing of your images. Now, if I was doing the photography course and I had a bunch of photographs that I wanted to edit, I would use Photoshop. But if I was putting my page together for my portfolio and I just wanted to do some minor editing, I could possibly do that in Canva. So the first thing is I'm going to come out of the drawer. I'm going to click on my photograph, and if you go to edit image, you've got the standard basic editing tools. This might be useful to know if, for example, you're taking a photograph of your work, you've scanned it in, maybe it was a little bit gloomy outside, but you've lost the brightness, it's looking a bit dark, you can't see the detail, and so you might just want to jazz up a little bit, maybe add a little bit of brightness, little bit of contrast, just making it pop a little bit, and perhaps turn up the saturation, especially if, you know, a photo of a photo, for example, or a photograph of some of your drawing work, and it's just lost that crispness that the original had. It's quite useful to know. It has got filters and things that you can mess around with and have a play with. It gives you a bit of different filters, some similar. You've got the half tone there, similar to the ones that you've maybe have used or will be using in Photoshop, but that's quite useful to know if you need some minor alterations onto your images. I'm just going to pop those back. Again, you can undo what you've done. It's not set in stone. So now the other thing, or the last thing I'm going to show you, is how to save it. Now, it's not in any particular format at the moment, and it's stored on your Canva. You can download it in multiple different formats depending on what you're going to be using it for. So the first thing you'll need to do is go to share, this button here, go to download, and then you can choose your file type. So if I was saving it as an image, I would probably use this file type. If I was going to share it, keep it as a JPEG. And if I was going to save it, if for example it's my electronic portfolio, I'd probably save it as a PDF format, a standard format, and I know that it would be easy to upload onto the portal. So I would click PDF, and actually I'm going to go PDF standard, and then just download it, and that will send it to your download files on your computer. So I hope you found that useful. As I said, it was just covering the basics, but it should be enough if you've not used Canva before to give you a bit of confidence to be able to start a page, upload some of your own images, upload perhaps researched images, and use the stock images that Canva has to offer, as well as adding text, your own drawing and graphics and that kind of thing. So I hope that's been of some use.